whatever seat is comfortable to you. But whatever seat you take, you want to feel like you're balancing right on top of your sit bones. So if you bring your hands to the bowl of the pelvis, you can spill it forwards and compress the low back. Often that's a culprit for our low back pain sitting at a desk all day. Those muscles contract and kind of stay consistently contracted without ever being able to release. But you can also spill the pelvis backwards, sitting behind the sit bones, and notice what happens to my posture when the upper back and shoulders start to round, the head pitches forward. Also a result, or a causative factor of up and back or shoulder and neck pain going in that direction, okay? So you want to balance right on top of the sit bones, draw the shoulders back over the hips, ears over the shoulders, rest the arms in such a way that the arm bones hang right in the middle of the rib cage. Hands rest on thighs or in the lap. And then either close your eyes all together or just look at a single point down the tip of the nose. And we'll begin with just a few moments of grounding and centering, some breath work. So we want to take our attention from the external environment and bring it into the body. So start just by noticing the external stimuli, sound, right, smell or taste. Even if the eyes are closed, you might see residual light or form behind the lids. And then notice the skin, temperature of the room, any movement of air. Feel the texture of your clothing. The pressure of the parts of the body against something solid. Okay, and then narrow your focus a little more to what's happening internally. Check in with all the layers of tissue, muscle. Maybe there is some tension or tightness. And check in with the bones and the joints where the bones connect. In the winter, the body gets a little cranky. You might find that the joints crack a bit more, or there might be kind of a dull ache in the joints when it's cold. And you go down even to the layer of organ, that soft tissue. Maybe the belly or intestines are chatting at you on kind of this late morning, preparing for lunch hour. Can you feel the heartbeat? And feel the lungs expand and contract with each breath. And take a few more cycles of breath, just noticing the sensations of how the breath feels in the body, around the nose, the throat, the lungs. Feel the belly move. And perhaps you begin to visualize the breath flowing to any areas of discomfort. Right, the neck, the shoulders, whatever feels like it's acting up today. Visualize the breath go there, whatever that looks like to you. Each inhale creates a little more space. Each exhale dissipates tension. Okay, now, if you are sitting cross-legged, let's switch which shin is in front. And then readdress the posture. You're still rooting down through the sit bones, but energetically lifting up through the crown of the head, right? So you're very tall, there's some space between the vertebrae. We'll start to warm up the spine from the neck down. So tip your ear, your right ear, towards your right shoulder. You might already get a nice little crack out of there. And with the head tipped in that direction, start to turn your nose up and down. Okay, eyes can be open or closed here. I often find when the eyes are closed, you might be more able to tap into interoception, like what it feels like to be in your body internally. Okay, letting the head be heavy, roll the chin through the chest. And let the weight of the head hang there for a moment. Your upper back might want to round, but gently squeeze the shoulder blades together. Feel that stretch down like the trapezius muscle there at the top of the shoulder. And then just a little bit side to side rock. And perhaps you feel this sensation resonate further down the spine. For me, on days when my shoulder is acting up, I can feel the stretch go all the way down the left side of my back, right below the bottom ribs. That's how long that fascial chain of stress is. Now let's tip the ear towards the left shoulder. Notice any differences between the two sides. Okay, begin to turn the head up and down. Right, and you'll find that there's usually a pretty big disparity between the sides for the neck and shoulders, just because we do a lot of asymmetrical things, right? We sleep weird, we drive with one arm, we carry heavy bags on a shoulder. Okay. Now, if you like, you can just keep going through the center or go all the way around, but you still want to prioritize length and space, not compression. So you can channel the essence of a graceful giraffe neck. You stretch the muscles of the throat and the jaw. You might move the chin around a little bit. Open and close the mouth. Okay, now we feel pretty good just to stay in the end range of motion. That stretches the muscle, but we also want to lubricate all the joints and all the ways they can move. So start to draw different shapes with your nose. Okay, like a spiral or a figure 8. Go in both directions. And maybe some stars, some zigzags. Maybe for just a few more breaths. And then eventually you'll wind your way back to center. And spread the arms open here like you're going to give someone a big hug. And then cross your right arm underneath the left, as high up the arm as you can get. Now, option 1 is just to give yourself a hug, right? And sometimes you just need to give yourself a hug. Or if you want to explore a little more depth with the shoulders, you can bring the backs of the hands or even the palms together for a full eagle bind, Garudasana. Okay? And then we're going to continue warming up the spine here with some cat and cow tilts involving the shoulders. On your inhale, back bend. Lift the elbows away from the sternum. And then as you exhale, round the back like a cat. Pull your elbows in towards your belly button. Let the head just hang heavily. Breathe into the back of the heart. And we're going to flow through that a couple of times with the breath. Inhale, rise. I trace the fingertips along the ceiling. Exhale, curl in. Okay. Tuck the tailbone, round the mid and upper spine, chin to chest. Inhale up through center. Exhale down the middle. Okay, one more here, or at least one more lift. And on your exhale, start to circle your elbows towards your right knee. And then over to the left knee. Back up and around, make a circle. Okay, go a couple of times in that direction. Okay. Churning the spine like you're churning butter. And the shoulders are also involved, so you want to see how big you can make the circle with the elbows. Okay, switch up the direction, counterclockwise. Okay, have some rhythm to the breath. I like to inhale on the way up, exhale as I compress on the way down. One more. Okay, and then return to center, unravel the arms. Let's interlace the hands behind the back here, just a counter stretch after having the chest squeezed together. So roll the heads of the arms back. Let's do that a couple of times. Bring the shoulders forward, up by the ears, down and around. For 2. And 1. So let's keep the shoulder blades squeezing. Can you lift the hands a little higher away or further away from the back? Don't lock the elbows. You want to keep a little bend there. Okay, breathe into the chest. Really pump the air up around the heart. Now you're going to keep the palms as close together as you can, but release the interlace of your fingers and your thumbs, like you're squeezing an imaginary block there. Hold for 3, 2, 1, and then let it go. Let's stretch out the legs for a moment. They've been crossed for a while. Bring your feet to the width of your mat, knees bent, and let's just start to swing the legs side to side. Okay. Now it's more than just an action, it's an intention. So the intention here is a couple of things. Try to make this the shifting of weight, feel like a massage for the glutes, the outer hips. Just let the weight of the pelvis rock, squishing the tissues. Okay. And then you're also moving to roll the top of the thigh bone around in the hip socket, starting to lubricate that joint. See how close you can get that middle knee to the ground. Okay, no stress in the knee, the hip can lift, your booty can squeeze a little bit, but you're just encouraging the internal rotation of the leg. Feel that stretch in the hip flexors, down the quadriceps. I will rock a couple of times, more from side to side. Even out, and then come back to center. Since we're already propped up here, let's try a reverse tabletop. So you might bring the feet a little closer together or closer to your sit bones. Hands behind you, still keep that lift of the chest, like when your hands were interlaced, but the direction of your fingertips is your choice, okay? Just turn them whichever way feels best for your wrists. And then you're gonna press into the hands and feet, lift your hips up towards the ceiling, keep your chin to your chest, looking at the knees. Okay, can you squeeze your bum a little bit, thrust the pelvis a little higher for 3, 2, 1, and then lower back to the floor. Straighten the legs out. Now, depending on the state of your hamstrings, your legs might be a little wider. The knees can be generously bent. Otherwise, you might try feet all the way together to touch, legs fully outstretched, okay? And before you fold forward, just find length in the spine. So you don't want to fold from a slumped position, okay? Picture that marionette string lifting you upward. And as you fold forward, try to keep that long, verticality of the spine and just try to hinge at the hips. Okay, that's easier said than done, okay? And once you hinge, notice the upper back. When it starts to round, you stop, okay? Rest the hands wherever they fall. They by no means have to touch your feet. Okay, and then we'll use the breath here, a couple rounds of breath to ease us perhaps a little more deeply into the fold. So I like to picture like a little caterpillar moving forward. You know how they have to bunch up a little bit and then kind of progress? So on your inhale, lift up a little bit out of the fold, re-lengthen. You can use your hands as traction against the mat to pull your sternum towards your toes, shoulders back. And then exhale, maybe you fold the belly a little closer to your thighs. And you repeat, inhale, lift, lengthen, fold. Okay, take a few more breaths, just kind of progressively inching forward. And keep the breath circulating. Use that, the power of your imagination. Visualize the breath flowing. All right, again, the left side of my low back is always the usual suspect for me. And part of a yoga practice is just, being able to learn about your body in a kind of safe container. Take a few more breaths. And of course, through learning about the body, you also can learn about your mind. Notice when you are in a spot of discomfort, how the mind responds, right? What narrative unfolds for you. All right, now slowly, let's come on up. Recross the legs with kind of your usual, like your habitual cross, right? We started that way with the breath work and then we switched. Now you're switching back, okay? Bring the arms open, big hug. And then cross the left arm under the right. Right, squeeze in. Keep the elbows high if you're working with just this bear hug. Or Garudasana arms, backs of hands or palms press. Moving through the spine again. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, round forward. Right, and hollow out the belly. Pull the navel towards the spine. That'll help you round that mid-back a little more pronounced. Okay, you flow a couple of times through the center. The duration of the inhale is the entire lift of the elbows at back bend. And then the start of the exhale is what initiates your movement to round. So that is part of why we call yoga a moving meditation. It's because each breath is linked to one movement. Okay. And then we start to circle. Doesn't matter which way you go, we're gonna switch it up in a moment. Okay, just kind of get into a groove with it, like it's a dance. Be a little playful. Doesn't have to be super serious. There's no like specific alignment cues. You're just exploring this undulation of the spine. For another round. Right, and then return to center, uncross the arms. Take a moment. Do you feel that, like the blood flow release from the contraction? Feel that warmth. And then interlace your hands, but now flip your grip to your non-dominant clasp. You'll have a different pinky on top. And take a moment here, loop the heads of the arms back. And I believe we went up and forward last time. So let's go forward and then up and back. I think that's what we did. So forward first, then by the ears, then back. If that feels quite familiar, go back first, then lift by the ears and go forward. I'm pretty sure we need to go back first here. And just a couple of loops. Try to resist the back bend and isolate the movement just from the shoulders. Okay, and then a little more focus on the chest. Lift your hands away from the low back, keeping a micro bend of the elbows. Notice that the head pitches forward. Still try to keep the ears aligned with the shoulders. And without causing any strain, see if you can lift the hands a little higher. Big breaths into the chest and the upper back. Okay, and then keep your palms close. Release the interlace of the fingers and the thumbs. Just strength keeping you back there. One more. Okay, and then release. Okay. Now, sitting cross-legged in a forward fold can be enough hip opening for a lot of people. If you want to explore more sensation, we've been sitting cross-legged for a while, you can stack one shin over the other, right? If one knee is getting cranky, you can certainly straighten a leg out and fold that way, right? So it's your practice. You should feel free to explore, experiment. There's not really a right or wrong, despite what some other people may tell you. All right, so in your forward fold or your kind of seated hip opener, wiggle around a little bit. Feel connected to your sit bones, right? So remove the flesh from underneath them. Readjust the lengthening of the spine. And then take a moment of pause. Just, tune into the level of intensity of sensation in the body. Okay, it's not always necessary to seek more. Okay, maybe you just want to sit here and breathe and enjoy the somatic experience of being embodied. Okay, if you'd like some more feedback, start to fold forward. Same principle, you're hinging. Keep a long spine. You're hinging at the hip to close off that space. Hands can come out in front of you. If you have props, you can bring the hands to blocks or elbows to blocks. Some of you might be bendy enough to get your elbows to the floor, in which case you might rest your forehead on your thumb knuckles. And anytime you can apply a little pressure to the forehead, it helps to calm the nervous system. You have a big nerve there, the vagus nerve. It connects to the throat, to your heart, to your gut, longest cranial nerve in the body. And you take 5 deep breaths. And notice that it's not just the inhale and the exhale, there's space between the two. So really each breath cycle is 4 parts. The inhale, and then maybe you try a little retention, holding the inhale. It's going to cause the heart to beat a little faster. It's a more energizing pattern of breath. The exhale, and then the space after the exhale, holding that portion, is more calming, right? Slows the heart rate, parasympathetic nervous response. Okay, and just by playing with the length of these parts of the breath, it's a brilliant tool to help regulate the nervous system. All right, so if you want to feel more energized, if you want to feel calmer, you're carrying around this tool with you at all times. No matter where you are, what you're doing, who's in front of you, you always have your breath. Okay. Now, if you've folded, let's rise up and cross the legs. Give straighten up the legs, give the backs of the knees a little tip tap, a little stampede against the floor. Circle the ankles. You can circle the wrists for that matter as well. Flare the fingers apart like you're a flamenco dancer. And then you will return to your cross-legged position with the opposite shin in front or the opposite shin on top. Now, if you do stack the shins, you want to keep the ankle pretty firmly flexed so it's not sickling sadly down the shin. Not that it's wrong to bend the ankle in this way, it's just, if you sprain the ankle a lot, it's likely that these ligaments and tendons are already a little weak or a little overstretched. So make sure to stabilize the joints. And then wiggle the sit bones. You could take your thumbs into your hip creases and just kind of manually roll any connective tissue, the fabric of your pants out of the way. And take a moment of pause. And then maybe you fold forward. Okay, notice when you start to feel that discomfort in the hips as it releases, does that tension travel elsewhere in the body? Do you start to clench your jaw? Okay, that's like the go-to for me. It's just like, clencher. But the eyebrows might furrow, you might tense up the hands. All right, so scan the body and consciously soften the parts of the body that are tensing. Okay, and a helpful tool there, I like to visualize the breath flowing to those spots. Sometimes I picture actually a little straw sticking into the muscle or whatever. And then I visualize the breath moving in through that straw. The body is sipping it in. And then exhale, releasing it out. For 5 breaths. And then as you're ready, come on back up. Uncross the legs. And just have them out in front of you there. Okay. Tall spine, bring the hands to the heart. And we'll close practice with a shared breath. Exhale to the bottom of the lungs. Breathe in through the nose. And out through the mouth. It was my pleasure to guide you through practice today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.